morning. And this morning, it is morning. I know when anyone watches this, it's like, what time of day is it? What day of the week is it? What year is it? But it is morning. We are in February 2024. It has been raining terribly. And I am here with Claire Palastanga, who is a fine art sculptor and recently more potter. So it's kind of like, you know, across the two. We thought it'd be really good to have a chat about Claire and I about looking back, because she's come such a long way. I say she, you, Claire, have come such a long way. So I thought it'd be really good for everyone to hear that journey, because it shows that the path of an artist is a long road. It winds quite a lot. There are some like little dead ends along the way, but as long as you don't stay in the dead end and you come, you know, reverse, come back out and have another go, you can keep the practice evolving and moving with your life and things that happen in your life. So Claire, tell us a bit about your background, you know, where you grew up, what you did in terms of, you know, your art life. Did you do art at school, stuff like that?
Yes, I know. I loved art at school. It was my favourite subject. So I studied art at GCSE and A level, which was great. And it was kind of a given afterwards that I was going to go to art college. So I looked around art colleges and did a foundation course at Maidstone, what used to be Kent Institute of Art and Design. And from there, we got to try out everything, which was really exciting. And I love art and design generally, so it was a bit of a tough decision. But when we had to kind of break down which area to specialise in, and my tutor recommended 3D because they thought my drawings were very three-dimensional. So yeah, I specialised in 3D, and from there, I was thinking I'd go down an interior design route probably. So I went to look around the universities with the idea of doing interior architecture or interior design. And I went to the Kent Institute of Rochester. I was quite keen to kind of stay local. And we went and looked into their interior design degree section and department. And it was really tidy, with lots of people sitting at desks very neatly with drawing boards and easels. And I really quickly realised that was definitely not me at all. But on the way through, we'd walked through the clay department where there were people having fun, kind of covered in clay, and it just felt right instantly. So having not done any clay before, I then found myself signed up onto a ceramics degree, which was great. Yeah.
It's amazing how those...
It was an amazing...
Yeah, it's amazing how those little moments happen, isn't it? That I got into ceramics because I went to do a photography degree at Windsor School of Art and was taught by the ceramics teacher. Taught photography. Yeah, bizarre. Yeah, it is those little moments, and you're like, oh goodness, if you hadn't have walked through that ceramics department.
I know. Mad. My life could have been so different.
Yeah.
I still don't think I'd have probably been sat at an easel, but
no. I know. I was told I should do graphic design as well. It's funny, isn't it? And I just, no way could have done that. So you did that, and you did your foundation degree. What happened next?
So I did my ceramics degree, and I fell in love with clay. The first few weeks I found quite difficult, having not worked in clay before, and then all of a sudden it just it caught on, and I loved it. I really enjoyed it. It was a really full-on course. It was, you know, all day, every day. I think some people always thought ceramics and art degrees is the easy option. And I remember my friends going off and studying English, and they'd have a few lectures a day. And I'd be in there at the crack of dawn right through to the evening, where we had Stay for Life drawing. So it was great, and I absolutely loved it. And I did really well. I came away with a first class honours degree, which was really exciting. And I was absolutely determined that I was going to be a ceramicist sculptor at the time. I found a small studio in High Brooms near where I was living, which I rented. And sadly, the ceramics course closed down. As I kind of left, it started closing down. The numbers were dropping. I think it's kind of happened throughout the country. I think it's making more of a comeback again now. But as a result, it meant that they were selling off their equipment. So I took my desk with me, and a potter's wheel. And I was really lucky. Yeah, I set up as a sculptor working in Tunbridge Wells. And I always kind of had other part-time jobs that worked along, trying to get the right balance. But yeah, that's kind of where it all started.
Yeah, so I do remember when I first met you, you were in that ceramic studio,
Yeah.
and you were making beautiful fine art sculpture, and you were also working, was it in a teaching environment for special needs children?
Yeah, so I've had lots of part-time jobs, but I was really lucky. I managed to get, I've been artist in residence at Tunbridge Girls Grammar School. And I've also done other workshops with children that have come across as a result. I did a project years ago at Hawkhurst Primary School, actually, which was great. And then artist in residence at Tunbridge Grammar School for a few years. And then I became a mental health support worker. So that was great as well. I was kind of a life skills worker. So it's a mixture of jobs, but actually it meant I was able to do some of the art and the clay materials and bring that in to the people I worked with mental health difficulties, which was great as well. It's quite an interesting background.
Yeah, and it provided you with some steady income as well, didn't it? It provided you with the stability of income.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, so that was my main income, I guess. And then I also then used to earn a little bit off the ceramics, but it gave me, I guess, having the income from the mental health care meant I could be much freer with the ceramics. I didn't at the time. I eventually got a flat when I was a bit older. I was living with my parents to start off with, so I didn't need too much of an income. And then when I did need more of an income, I could do the mental health care work. Yeah, and it meant I was quite free to do my ceramics as I did.
Yeah, and explore exactly what you wanted to make, as opposed to making something commercially that you knew you could sell.
Yes, yeah, that was definitely it. So yeah, my forms used to be, I used to create these really spiky forms. So they were quite meditative to do. So they were often, the middle parts were quite often thrown on the wheel. And then I used to roll out hundreds and hundreds, like shelf loads of the spikes and attach them one at a time to these really lovely vessels, which were just completely spiky.
Have you got a glass of water, and do you want to stand
No,
up as soon as you're in your kitchen? Yeah, as soon as you're in the kitchen, go and grab yourself a glass of water. Yeah. This is normal for artists. We work all over our homes, don't we?
We do, yeah.
You work all over the home. That's all right. So you were freely making, because you were liberated from having to make this your main source of income, because you had the residencies and you had the income from the mental health work, which was great. And that's kind of the time when I first met you and we started exhibiting that work. So that was in like 2008, 2009 when I first met you.
It was.
And
I've still got the poster. You used me for one of your posters, and I've got it framed upstairs in my house. I'm really proud of it. Yeah, so I've known you for a long time now. It's been a long time.
Yeah, so we started selling your work and helping you get into galleries, didn't we? You got into a really beautiful gallery in London, and we sold, and then we got you in. You did the show at the Saatchi Gallery with us, didn't you? And we sold to some amazing human beings. I do remember the guy who had the apartment in London who bought the entire series. And
the Count and Countess.
Yes, so that was amazing. And you were starting to really, your work was really starting to find its place in that element of London galleries, and you were really starting to, make a decent income from your ceramic sculpture, weren't you? And then life took another change.
So in 2015, quite a few years later, my first child was born. So I had my daughter Jemima, and then in 2019 I had my son Flynn as well. So things changed rather a lot. I kind of had to step back. It was quite, being a mum has been quite full on. So I've kind of stepped back from my ceramics. But in many ways, it's been really good because it's given me a chance to kind of reassess. And I think by 2015, I'd got to that stage where my spiky stuff had begun to get boring. I was beginning to see lots and lots of other people doing spiky stuff similar to mine. It wasn't the same.
Yeah.
but it was similar. And I hadn't got the same energy and the same feeling around it, if I'm honest.
I
So
think
it
that's
became a
what
bit of a
happens, isn't it? I
distraction.
think that is what happens when you find success, and this is something that you know I see
Yeah.
frequently, is you find success, you find an audience, and they love what you do. So then the people who are selling for you want you to make more and more and more of it, and people see you're successful. So then the first biggest form of flattery is people start copying
Yeah.
you, and so you're successful because
Yeah.
the galleries are demanding more and more of it, and everyone's copying you, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you go, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I've lost heart in it, because the reason I got here was through all that joy of experimentation and not having the pressure of having to make it for money. So I think that's a natural ebb and flow, and I think people see that in all careers. I don't think that's just naturally in the arts. I know I've seen that in my career, where I've been really become very successful at something, and I'm like, oh, I've lost heart in this now. And then you change your job and do something different. And for
Yeah.
you changed your job at that point and became pretty much a full-time mum, didn't you, for a while?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I
Mm.
did. It's like the change in seasons. I think as we grow and develop, things change. And actually, I'm learning it's better to go with it, go with the flow. Things change, things don't need to stay the same. And actually, it's quite often, it's always a good thing to go with the seasons, to go with the flow of life. It's better than, yeah, fighting quite often to go the other way.
Yeah, I think once you start to dig in and start to fight, then it all becomes very clunky and
Yeah.
unpleasant for you and for everybody else. So you took a bit of a step back for a while. You made art with your children. I know this because obviously I was observing. I was still there. I was still there. But and we had our regular chats, and you were making art with the kids, and just doing stuff really that you would as a mum, and you were
Yeah, yeah.
enjoying that season of your life of spending, really immersing yourself with the children and having a nice time bringing your children up. But then was it just before the pandemic or around the start of the pandemic, like
Oh, I think
2020?
it was partway through the pandemic, and you were
Mm,
running an online course.
yes.
Um, about getting back in, or where your ceramics or where your artwork was going. And it was just at a time when I think I had become quite engulfed with motherhood, and I actually needed to find myself more. So it was one of my first steps back. I think Flim had maybe just started at nursery and things. I was starting to get a bit more time, and it was nice. It was beginning. I needed to find myself again. So it was that kind of change whereby I've been completely engulfed with motherhood, and actually I needed to find Claire again.
Yeah, no, I
And the
remember
course just came along just at the right time. Got
yeah,
into it. Yeah.
it was called it was an online thing during the pandemic, and it was called Going from Surviving to Thriving. And it was
Yes.
and it was incredible. I did really enjoy it. We did it a couple of times during the pandemic, and as you say, you suddenly reach that point, don't you, where you think, okay, I need to re-find myself again now, because then that's also good for my children.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It was a point. It was a turning point for all of us, I think, actually.
Mm,
It was
mm.
really good. And it definitely for me was the turning point of actually, okay, I need to be me again. I need to get back into something. Not the same. I knew I couldn't go back to making more spiky pieces because I hadn't got the will to do that. But I knew I needed to do something, and it was that step, starting to make little steps again back into, okay, I don't want to do the spiky stuff. What do I want to do? I don't, I need to do something. How do I go about this? And what do I do?
Yeah.
And yeah, you were there, which was
And we
amazing. I was
created
very
a
lucky.
Yeah, we created a nice clear pathway for you, which is like you basically just went and decided when the children were asleep, as I recall, you would just go and start throwing stuff on the wheel, just playing.
Yeah, yeah, that was the plan. So I'd just head down to the studio, just have a go. Um, yeah, and I did. I went down and started making more effort to go back down to my studio and start doing something. It didn't have to be anything big, but I had to go and do something, anything.
And
Yeah,
I
which is great.
remember you were talking to me a lot at that time about the environment, because you had at that time in your garden a eucalyptus wood, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, I used to really enjoy gardening. So I was looking at all the things that I really enjoyed, and gardening and being outdoors were one of them. My ceramics and throwing, I like the repetition of the throwing. That was another
Mm,
one. So
mm.
trying to look at how or whether I could do something to kind of incorporate them all together, which I guess is actually where I still am now, still working on it.
Yeah, yeah, bringing those passions. So getting back into something is always a challenge for everyone, not only just artists, but everyone. And it is looking at the things that you really are passionate about and then just giving yourself permission to play. And I think that's what you did, wasn't it? You gave yourself
Yeah,
permission to just play for a while. So talk us through that. You went back to, you found a little space and
yeah,
you just started playing,
yeah,
and then you started
definitely.
playing with the glazes, didn't you? Oh, I
Have you
think
still got me
we are struggling a bit with the internet right now. I think you've frozen a little bit, Claire.
there? I'm sorry, am I back?
You're back.
Oh yeah, perfect. Yeah. So no, I started going down the studio, playing with the glazes. I remembered when I was at university, I did really love glaze, and I had a lot of glaze materials. And also, I remember I had a meeting with you. I decided that in order to do my really sculptural freelance, develop that kind of body of work, I needed an income. And in order to get an income, I needed to do something that I could do quite nice and easily that would just bring in a little bit of money each month. We spoke about cards and different bits. And I remember at the time, Louisa Crispin, I think she was talking about how she did a drawing a day. And I thought, okay, well, maybe I've never been one for mugs, but this could be an element of my learning and progression. Actually, if I could throw a cylinder a day, a mug a day, just a mug a day, can I? And it was a little bit of a challenge for me in that I wasn't sure that I could do it. I wasn't sure my throwing, it'd been a long time away from the wheel, whether my throwing skills would be up to it. It's a bit of a challenge. I quite like a challenge, I found out. So I started throwing these cylinders, which I ended up becoming mugs. And I thought, I was really proud of myself. I needed mugs for my house anyway, so it was a win-win. And yeah, I started throwing mugs, and then I needed to glaze the mugs. And I remembered I'd got all these glaze materials when I was at uni. And I actually used to, when I was at uni, my dissertation had been all about the use of colour within ceramics. And actually, my sculptural work since university had moved completely away. It was black and white with gold and metal leaf, but it moved away from glaze. And I suddenly remembered the love I had for colour and use of colour and my glaze technology. And I've always found glaze really tricky on pieces because it can either, it's such a make or break. You can have a really beautiful sculpture, put a glaze on it and just destroy it in a minute. Um, it's really, it's the kind of chemistry side of it, but actually, and I came up with some really lovely glazes, and they worked. The mugs turned out to be the perfect vehicle for me to start experimenting with color again, and yeah, and they worked, and I was so happy that I could start playing around with color, and I had a vehicle to actually create these amazing glazes, which then meant I had a beautiful product. I'm actually, one of the things I'm most proud of, other than my children, is my mugs, because the colours and the glazes on them, they are actually really, really beautiful. I genuinely believe in my mugs. I use them every day, and yeah, I'm very, very proud of my mugs. I'm probably almost more proud of my mugs than my spiky sculptures actually now, which is mad, but true. Yeah, yeah.
They are absolutely stunning, and it's interesting because as you start to play, you remember, don't you? Like you said, you remembered.
Yeah, I remembered all the things, and it's things start to come back to you, and elements that I'd kind of moved away from. And I love that, how things change and develop, and you pick up different bits, and then you can combine the different bits that you learn to love and how it all works. It's the journey, it's the process, and it's exciting.
Yeah, we just got to be careful you don't come to the same point with the mugs that you did with the spiky sculptures too soon.
Yes, so that is my next plan. So my next plan, I was really lucky last year, and also one of my mum friends she did Chelsea flower show. And so with the mental health aspect as well, I'd kind of incorporated that into my mugs, in the fact that I like the idea of actually the moment when we drink tea should be special and making it mindful. And then my friend, because the gardening element, because I love gardening. So I'm again, bizarre friendship, she became a garden designer after she had children. And yeah, she designed, as part of her course, she designed a garden for aspens in Peppenbury, which was local to me. And we've been talking about this whole thing. And it turned out her garden was put forward for a Chelsea garden last year at Chelsea. And yeah, and it went through all these different stages, and we were really excited hearing about it from her. And in the end, she got chosen, and she I was so happy for her. It was really exciting. And as part of her garden, she'd got this idea of doing these. I think it's I can't pronounce the word. You know, the fungi pots, the
Yes.
myho.
That.
But yeah, she was struggling to source them, and we've been talking about my idea. I love using the idea of using the clay out of the ground, because one of the other projects, so I got back into my colour from university, but one of my other projects at uni had been, I created these vessels and I started growing grass on them and cress seeds, because actually at the time I didn't like using the kiln. So I thought, you know what, I'm not going to use the kiln, I'm just going to keep them as they are. And we started talking about this and the idea of permanence and semi-permanence and in gardening, and it suddenly became this really exciting collaboration almost with her, because she was into gardening. I loved gardening, and I thought that I had all these ideas anyway before I'd started doing the mugs as to bringing the garden and the ceramic. And so we started. She came up with we came up with the idea of making these pots for her Chelsea garden to go on a wall, and they would be made using the clay dug straight out of the ground, put straight into molds. That I made as well. And I kind of wowed myself in a way. I was really, again, I've had some amazing opportunities, and I find it fantastic how sometimes things kind of come together from different people that you don't expect in these meetings in life. It's a process and a journey, and it's great. So yeah, so last year in May, I had these pots go to Chelsea with Camellia and the local charity Aspens, which is another great thing.
And what happened?
Yeah, so she did really well. She got a silver award for her garden, which was great. I went and helped out at the show, and I've got loads of amazing photographs, and it was really, really good. It was really good. And yeah, from that, I've kind of, where I'm at now is I'm trying to take baby steps, but my aim now is to start creating some kind of much more sculptural work, which possibly semi-permanent or changes or kind of covers that looks at the process that doesn't have to stay the same. I find it really interesting how we're kind of obsessed with artwork staying the same. And I found it in my older ceramics with the silver leaf. So silver leaf taints, people did not like silver leaf tainting. So I ended up using aluminium. And it's almost, we have this thing about aging or changing. We're very against it in some ways, but in other ways, when it comes to plastic and carrier bags that last forever, we don't want it to last forever. And it's an awful thing.
Yeah.
And I find that the combination, how some things we are so determined that they must stay and last forever, and other things we don't want them to last. And as a potter, I guess the clay, when I fire it, it lasts forever. And I'm just suddenly very aware of these ideas. I don't quite know where I'm going with it, but yeah, it suddenly made me think, what do I want to leave? What do I want to last forever?
Yeah, it is understanding where you want to take that practice, but maintaining always the essence of the joy and the motivation to keep trying and experimenting, and not to lose the joy, and baby steps.
Yeah, tiny steps, just little steps. So yeah, again, I'm having to take slightly slower steps at the moment. It's that a different time again in my life, and actually learning to embrace the journey and all the steps along the way.
Yeah. And we have lots of chats, don't we? Because we have regular mentoring sessions, and it's always about accepting where you are and accepting that that's okay, that you're exactly where you're meant to be right now. And then looking out for those magic moments.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of you, because you took your mugs, which are beautiful, and you thought about places where they could potentially be sold, and you found some amazing places. And then you did the collaboration with the people who make the candles as well, Feather and
Oh
Field,
yeah.
didn't you?
Yeah. So I have a candle range as well now in so they're pots. I forgot. I completely forgot. So yeah, I've developed the mugs a little bit. So I've got mugs, I've got cups, I've got takeaway cups, and the candles as well. So yeah, I've done a range of candles now with this lovely local company to me. They make all of their candles by hand themselves, and they use the most amazing ingredients. And the candles I use with them, I make the pots, so it's kind of a limited edition range. And they do the candles with essential oils, and they smell. I've got some here now. They do actually smell genuinely amazing as well.
They do,
And
because I've
yeah,
got a
it's a
couple.
lovely collaboration.
It is, and that's it, isn't it? It's like just like being open to trying those things. You've tried lots of different locations for selling the mugs. Some of them have been successful, some of them haven't. That's all right
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, it's definitely, yeah. There's some better than others, and yeah, I've got a lovely range. So yeah, of where I sell my work now, which I'm really lucky.
Yeah. So life's looking positive, and in 2024 will be interesting because, as you say, you're now also back experimenting with the more fine art practice. So I can't wait to see what comes out
Yes.
next. But it's reassuring that you know that something will.
Yeah, definitely. Oh no, I've got big plans and ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of working with where I'm at and working along again with the seasons, and yeah,
Mm.
just baby steps, seeing what I enjoy, seeing what I like, and making it a little bit more the fine art side about me and what I think is work, and worrying less about other people at the moment,
Yeah.
which is quite nice. It's really good for me.
Yeah, and you
Mm.
can do that because you've got the balance of the mugs, etc., and the candles that we just spoke about, giving you the income and giving you the more commercial side. So now you don't have to bring that into the development of the fine art side. You can be completely free.
Yeah, definitely. It makes a massive difference, I think. If you don't, because otherwise you've just got constantly that pressure of thinking about will this sell, and you're making things with the wrong reasons and the wrong intentions.
Mm. Mm.
And then it just doesn't work. It doesn't have that energy, it doesn't have that magic and that aliveness, I think. So it's really important for me.
Yeah, I think important for all artists to remember that you have to keep it's the magic, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's the
definitely.
magic. But it's been an amazing journey to observe and be part of, and I am also very excited to see what happens next, because I know I, having been on this journey for quite some years now, I know that the next stages are exciting, and we're looking at lots of different things, especially on the fine art side. So thank you for sharing that. I think it'd be so reassuring for anyone watching, that to understand that how, as you say, it's seasons, and you have to embrace those seasons as you go
Yeah,
through life. Thank you, Claire. It's brilliant. Thank you
definitely.
so much.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. And people, if they want to find you, they can find you on your website. You'll see
Yeah,
the
find me on my
Claire.
website.
Yeah, there'll be
I'm on
details
Inst-
in the comments about how to find Claire on her, looking down on, and there'll be, because this will be on YouTube, so it'll be down there in the comments. There'll be your website that people can go to, and you're on Instagram as well, aren't you?
I am. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, and also I just want to say thank you to you, because your help and support, your mentoring, definitely that course during lockdown, it has helped. Without you, can't thank you enough. Yeah, you do so much to help me, and the conversations we have are really vital. So thank you.
Thank you so much for saying that, and I'm glad that it helps you. And you all, there's lots of you, are all my life's work, and I'm incredibly proud. I'm like a mum. I'm
You are.
incredibly proud of the fact that I don't do it for you. I don't tell you what to do. I just hold your hand as you explore and bring my experience to some of the decisions that we have to make, and then you all do it for yourself. So it's all your own success. It's not mine, but I, as an observer, am incredibly proud about how you and the many others that I work with do find your own way, and are not forced down a conventional path. It is a journey always. So well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll do a follow-up on this in a couple of years, and it'll be interesting to see what this next season brings along. So yeah, thanks everyone for listening.